Hello and welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. My name is Lincoln Shrike, joined today by Gordon Mack. It's Tuesday, September 29th. If you'd like to contact our show, email us at flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. We've been getting a lot of good messages questioning our takes on air. I think that must mean they're very solid. Either that or they're just horrendously bad takes, which happens, especially when you get Gordon and Lincoln together. It's Kevin's favorite duo today on the show. What chaos will we cause? Keep listening to find out. But first, Gordon, how you doing?
Doing good. You have the sniffles a bit, don't you? Are you okay? Are you gonna die in 2 weeks? Is that how it works?
Jeez, that's appropriate. No, I'm good. My whole family's had a cold, and I'm the last one. I talked about it on yesterday's show. Just getting over it. Couple more days, maybe a day or two. Yesterday was way rough. Was probably the worst day. I think I'm on the other side of it right now. So we're doing good. Apologize for the listeners who have to hear my congested voice. And then if anyone's watching this, I mean, they got to look at me, my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer face right now. So just from blowing my nose. So doing better. Not there yet, though.
So today's pod, I think, would be great to. Basically, this weekend is going to be probably one of the biggest live event weekends on FloTrack since pre-COVID, I would say. We have 4 live events on the weekend. We got the Florida State Cross Country Invitational on Friday. On Friday, then you have the Live in Lou Cross Country Classic, which is featuring Notre Dame men. Bigger. That's live on Saturday. And then we have the World Athletics Continental Tour season finale, which is in Nairobi, live on Flow. And then we have the London Marathon, which is live, even bigger, live on Flow in Canada, Pan Asia. You get the idea. But basically, the end of the track season is near. The final 2 track meets are going to be live on Flow. We have the Continental Tour in Kenya on Saturday, which features a bunch of the top African runners. Timothy Cheruiyot is going to be in 1500. We'll preview that on this pod. And then the World Record Day, which is next week on Wednesday. That's also going to be live on Flow. And we're going to have a special guest watch it live with us. His teammates in the race. So we'll let you do a little thinking of who that is. There's someone in this race. His teammate is going to be watching it with us and joining like a little watch party to see if the 10K records can go down in Valencia, Spain. But that's for next week, so we'll talk about that next week. But this weekend, 2 cross-country meets, a track meet, and a marathon. That's a 2K loop. It's going to be a wild weekend. First, I think we should talk about that track meet, though. It's kind of under the radar. People kind of forgot about the Continental Tour. Doha ended the Diamond League, so everyone thinks, track is over. But not yet. Still got a couple more meets, notably this Nairobi meet, which is looking to be a pretty good field. The entries came out the other day. Lincoln, what are your thoughts on the entries for this final Continental Tour meet?
Well, super bummed I couldn't be there in person. This looks like a fun one. I tried to, book a $2,000 flight and it got rejected by the company. It's just classic FloTrack stuff. No, just kidding. One thing I want to go before I go into this meet, encourage people to write in to guess who the person that's going to be joining us watching the 10K world record. You said one of the teammates of somebody running. I think that could lead to a lot of speculation. We know that obviously the premier guy, Joshua Chepkoech, maybe people think it's Jacob Kiplimo. I mean, maybe they think it's an in running guy. Maybe they think it's Eliud Kipchoge. I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing some guesses about who people think we are going to be watching that race with. But yes, let's get into this Nairobi Continental Tour preview. You're right. The track season's pretty much over, so I'm not sure what we can really learn. But this meet, with all the names in it, it's basically every Kenyan distancer you can think of. It's kind of like a de facto Kenyan national championships right now. If you look at it, we go to the 1500. Timothy Cheruiyot running, coming back. He had a little injury, I think, at the Doha Diamond League. He gets back into his comfort zone, so we'll see how fast he can go in Nairobi. We know it's at altitude, but these athletes are used to running at altitude, so I expect the time still to be good. I mean, it's everyone. Excuse me, it's everyone, right? I mean, Chepkoech is going in the steeple, Rotich is going in the men's 8. You've got your favorite guy, Emmanuel Career, running his 400. I don't know, is he moving permanently to the 400? We'll find out. Hellen Obiri in the 5K. I mean, there's just a bunch. It's basically everyone you could hope for in the, and I say that, let me check to make sure, is Kipyegon in the women's 1500? It does not look like it. So no Faith Kipyegon, but other than that, it's basically a who's who of Kenyan distance talent in Nairobi on Saturday, we should say. We're previewing this meet a little early, but Saturday it will go down live on Flow.
Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting meet because anytime there's like an elite level competition at altitude, it's always kind of weird because you know you're not gonna get the like world beating results. Kind of like when USA's indoors is hosted at Albuquerque. You know, it's kind of like, all right, we know we're not gonna see, you know, a 350 mile. We're gonna see maybe like a 4 flat mile, but because they're doing it at altitude, it's a lot better than you know than 4 flat. So I'm interested to see what type of paces, especially the 5K, and there's a 10K that's going to be competed. Apparently, we'll see if that gets changed. But a 5K at altitude, it's 12 and a half laps at high level. I mean, that's kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's in your hometown. I mean, it's in your backyard, right? You're from altitude. You're kind of used to doing this, but to compete in an elite 5K at altitude, it seems like a hell of a way to end your season.
Yeah, these athletes are going to be used to it. I mean, if it's run at like 5,000 feet, that should be not much for them. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as running at sea level. I'm intrigued by one entry though, and we talked about it. You mentioned a 10K. Ronix Kipruto, known for getting a bronze medal at the World Championships, also known for running a 26:24 on the roads somehow. I don't know how that's possible. He's entered in the 10,000 completely by himself. Now, what can this guy come up with in a 10,000 all by himself? Why is he running this? Several questions we have to answer. My question to you is, can he run under the world lead of 26:58.97 by Nicholas Kameli? Can he do that running either completely by himself or with pacers in Nairobi, Kenya?
Yeah, that's what would be the most impressive part. You know, to do it at altitude, to run a world lead at altitude would be very impressive.
Right.
And by himself, I feel like maybe he's hoping that someone else joins him in this. Like he's the only entry. A lot of times when meet directors put together meets, if they don't get enough athletes in a certain race, they kind of just end the race and say, hey, go run the 5K. I feel like that might happen with him. So he might get screwed over and just have to run the 5K. You think he's like, hey, maybe I should just hop in the world record attempt, a few days later in Spain, That's what I think should happen. What do you think? Do you think he should just like kick the can a few days and go race up in Spain against Chepkoech and the other guys?
Yeah, I think the problem with that is Kipruto is an Adidas guy, and this has a lot, if not all, Nike guys in the world record day. So I think that's a complication. I'm sure he would love to be in that race. I guess that is also assuming that he's fit enough to try to run in the 2016s. Now, if he's at peak form and we take what he did on the roads to indicate that he could run faster on the track, then I would say yes. But I think most distance runners right now are giving Joshua Chepkoech, they're basically yielding to him, being like, okay, he's clearly the fittest this year. He ran 12:35, so I want no part of him. Like, that may be the situation right now with Kipruto. He may just look at the track and say, the 10,000 is my best distance. I'm running in Nairobi in front of home fans, if they do have fans, and I'm just going to run a good solid 10,000 with some pacers, and I'll do the rest of the way. There's a big difference between going out there and trying to run 26:58 versus I got to go try to run 26:15. That's literally faster. That is like a second and a half faster per lap. He doesn't want that smoke. Like, who would want that smoke right now? I I imagine this is going to be like a 27-20 race if he sticks with that. But maybe he'll surprise me. Maybe he'll get under. Maybe he'll get under that 27 barrier and try to get a world lead, which will last all of about a week.
Yeah, speaking of world leads, if this is the last track meet uh, until next year, we're gonna know what our 2020 world leads end up being. Um, like obviously the world lead in you some when you look back on it, most of the world leads are actually pretty respectable. The 10K world lead is going to be amazing. 5K obviously is going to be a world record. The 3K 726 is good.
Obviously,
The
obviously a
mile
world record.
the mile 351, 1500 328, 800 143. That's all respectable. I think the least respectable world lead on the men's side in the running events is the 400. It's owned by a high schooler, Justin Robinson, or is he a freshman now? I don't know what he is.
Yeah,
I guess he's a
yeah,
high schooler.
no,
He's
he's
a
still a high
C,
schooler, I think.
but he's technically
Yeah.
at Arizona State. He's a freshman now, right? I don't know. I forget. I should probably know this. He ran 44.91. That's the world lead
Wow.
in the 400.
How did
I
that
think
slip
my boy.
through my fingers?
I
That's
think
incredible.
what that he ran
That
44.91 or that 44.91 is the world lead.
Well, but that there's a chance that a high schooler can end up having the world lead in a sprinting event. That's insane. During a pandemic, like that deserves its own article and attention. That is crazy because if you look at everything around it, sure, you could say like in the 100 in a normal year, Michael Norman's not going to have the world lead in the 100, but he ran 986. All the times are good around it. It almost looks like a normal year. I mean, you got 100, 986, and then maybe that would be a little faster, but the 1976, like you said, the 8 is good, the 15 is good. Everything looks the same other than the 400. What's been going on in the 400? I guess Michael Norman just like injury prone, kind of like I don't want to run the 4. Stephen Gardner, the world champ, hasn't really done it, even though he's done a couple 300 or he's done a couple races. He did a 300, has that world lead. That's crazy to me. Yeah, this the onus here is on your boy Emmanuel Career. He's got to take this from the high schooler.
And I think he might. I mean,
okay.
I know you and Kevin like to make fun of me on my appreciation of Emmanuel Courier. I've been comparing him to David Rudisha since he was a freshman at UTEP. Maybe I was a little overzealous.
Strategy.
Yeah. But I do think that he is a unique unicorn type 800-meter runner who is actually very good at the 400. I mean, he made a 400 final. After getting eliminated in the 8, he made all the way to the 400 final. Yeah, he didn't win, but I think we got like 6th or 7th, whatever. But he has speed. Like he has.
Oh yeah,
it's weird. Like he is this 800-meter runner who has legitimate speed. I mean, we talk about Donovan Brazier having good 400 speed. He's running some good 4x4s. Emmanuel Courier would smoke Brazier in a 400. Like it's not even close. In my opinion,
those are some fighting words. Yeah,
I mean, I think Brazier would be like, all right. I mean, Brazier would need to split like 43 mid to be a Emmanuel Courier type 400-meter runner. But altitude helps you, right? No, or does it hurt you at 400?
No, it'll help you in the 400. And here's the thing. Here's the argument for Career running under this high schooler led world lead. His PB in the 400, 44.21, comes from Nairobi 2 years ago in 2018. And he ran last year. He won the 400 national title in Nairobi, 44.55. So he should, if he's in any type of form, he should lower the world lead here. But it's no guarantee in a year where the 400 is basically gone dormant. So we shall see. You're a big fan of Career, and he's only 25. The man has a 142.05 PR. I'm not really sure why he's messing around too much in the 400. His ceiling in the 400 is much more limited to my eyes than it is in the 8. But last year he missed the 800 final, and then he made it in the 400. So I don't know. Maybe he sees less competition in the 400. The guy's got to get it figured out though, as far as medals are concerned. He's run a lot of good times and has basically no hardware to show for it when it comes to the international championships. So he's got to figure out his distance. Doubling, I think that has diminishing returns for both distances. Pick an event, and because he's not good enough to truly like double and think he's a medal shot in both events. I mean, we know Brazier's passed him by, and I think some other guys have passed him by too. Rotich in the 8, and in the 400, if Michael Norman's at full strength, if Gardner's at full strength, if Curley's at full strength, I mean, he's got no shot. He's like a tweener. He almost needs a 600 to be an event.
I mean, but like, again, I'm going to be a Courier apologist. His first time at Worlds was in 2017, and he was hurt. He made it to the semifinals, but he was hurt. He was on fire all the way up to that. He ran 143 in Monaco. He had won every race in college.
Yeah.
And then ran 143 in Monaco, and then he got hurt, and so that's why he got eliminated in the second round in 2017.
Yeah.
2018, he was supposed to run at World Indoors, but because Birmingham was a shit show with all the DQ craziness, he wasn't able to get to World Indoors due to a visa situation. Like, it was all complicated. Remember when that happened? And then Donovan got in, but then Donovan got DQ'd. It was just a craziness. But in 2018, he won every race except for one race, which was the African Championships, where he got second. But he ran 142 last year. So like 2017, he was undefeated and then got hurt. And that's okay, mulligan. 2018, he was literally almost undefeated. He lost one race, but ran 142.05 in London. So he was on top of the world in 2018. 2019, he was getting second. He wasn't as sharp. I'll give you that.
Right.
But
you can definitely say that. Yeah.
So he wasn't winning races, but his elimination in the World Championship, I feel like he was in a fluky race.
Yeah, he got third when he needed to get. I love how we're litigating races from literally over a year ago. He got third in a race he needed to get second. So, there's an argument that he just kind of had one bad day in the semis, and that can do it for you. But I don't know. I'm interested to see how his career pans out, because he's got so much talent. But when you go backwards after his 2018 year, you're like, oh yeah, this is a guy who can run 141. And when you run 142.0 at like 23 years old, you're like, yeah, this is a guy who can maybe be a Rudisha level talent. And he just hasn't quite shown that yet. And then now he's doing the 400. I'm just like, dude, pick the 8 and get in there and challenge Brazier. But I know it's not that easy. But who knows if he would have if he would have gotten into talking a different conversation. But listen, you did sway me just a little bit, but just in the fact that like he's had some unlucky breaks. But run the 800. Let's stop at the 400. That's basically my argument.
Think that Donovan's season last year and him just like stumping on competition this year, we are mentally preparing ourselves for like a perfect next few years for Donovan. And I think that will happen. I want that to happen as an American. It'll be cool. And I'm a fan of Donovan. But I do think I just think a healthy, on top of his game career will be the one to screw up a fairy tale run by Donovan. That's what I think.
Wow. Didn't know this was set up to be fairy tale for Donovan Brazier, but we'll see. I mean, as weird as this season was, next year, everybody coming back. A lot of people didn't compete. Who knows if we're having fans in the stand? Like next year's Olympics could be wild and weird. Like you just never know. So career has all the talent. He's got a faster PR than Donovan Brazier. Like he can beat him, but that only if he's at full strength. And we haven't seen that for the last couple of years. Okay, so let's look at some other things. We mentioned Cheruiyot. We know he's got the world lead in the 15, so doesn't need to necessarily prove that by running 3:28 here. That would be awfully tough to do, even for somebody who's used to altitude. But He wasn't very good in the 800 last week in Doha. What do we think he does here to but to wrap up his season? I don't see anyone on this start list who is going to give him any trouble. So I'm curious how he's going to run this. We do have a blast from the past, like straight up 2011. Silas Kiplagat, a guy who's run like 327, and I think his last time he got a medal was 2011. He's in this field. Now, no shot he beats Timothy Cheruiyot here, but I guess twofold. What do we expect out of Timothy Cheruiyot? And then what do we think of Silas Kiplagat being in this race?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot of times you like see like from the American side, like you when you follow the Kenyan distance stories, you start getting used to certain guys and names, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember Vincent Kibet and Bergen, Bethwell, and Silas Kiplagat, and then they kind of you don't hear from them for a little bit.
Yeah.
Bethwell Bergen, sorry, yeah.
Come on, I'm just kidding.
But sorry, well they did it. It's Bethwell Bergen. They reversed it on the results.
Yeah,
so that's not on me. That's the
Fair.
Result maker. That's the entry maker. So take it up with him. But
yeah.
You get used to seeing these names on the track, and then you can't and then you kind of forget that like a new guy comes up, like a new guy emerges, and then you forget. And I think you don't know if it's because they were injured or if it was because they just are not as good or just kind of on the twilight of their career. And it's always interesting. Like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. And I don't know, it's cool. I'm going a long way of really having nothing to say to your question, to be honest. I'm just trying to fill time with this little 1500. I think it's a Tim Cheruiyot's race. He's going to win it in like 3:33. And I just want to see what Sean Tobin does. He's coming over there from Ireland, representing the Ole Miss Rebels. He's going to try to take it to Cheruiyot on his backyard. I'm looking for Sean Tobin to kind of go in there and be like, watch out for me, and finish in the top 5. That's what I want to see. Sean Tobin, baby.
Yeah. Wow. Top 5 for Sean Tobin. That's going to make big waves. That's like saying, yeah, I'm looking for the Dolphins to go into Arrowhead Stadium and just give it, just hand it over, or excuse me, to just give the business to the Chiefs. And the chance of that is 0%. All respect to Sean Tobin. This is
Fitzmagic happens. Ryan Fitzpatrick has gone into New England and beaten Tom Brady. If Fitzpatrick can do it, Sean Tobin can do it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see with that. I'd like for you to put your money where your mouth is and maybe put a little wager on that. Okay, so I'm fascinated by Silas Kiplagat being in this race, and we don't want to talk too much about him because the dude is pretty much washed. But this guy, he's got a 327 personal best. Now, that is from 2014. His last couple years have just been awful. Like, he's fully washed if you look at his Tills Deposit page. Last time he ran at he ran 404. He hasn't broken 340 in the 1500 since 2017. What do we like? This is for track fans who've been around a while. Like, seeing his name, like this is wild that he's in this race. Like, you would think his career is on a complete. It's on its last little lifeline here. So he's not going to beat Timothy Cheruiyot. He may very well get dead last year, but I may honestly be more interested in seeing what Silas Kiplagat does at 31 years old than I am at seeing Timothy Cheruiyot.
Maybe he is just like the local entry, maybe he just like won
could be
he put his name in his business card at the local deli, and it got selected, and he gets to now compete at the Keano Classic, and so he's like the guest
Keano
runner.
Classic, maybe.
And maybe it's like that. That was mean.
No.
I mean, I just said that to a 327 guy. I mean, how many Americans have run 327? Like none, or maybe one.
Well, I think, well, I think Bernard Lagat, I think they switched that whenever they had to do the old Mondo rule, where it was like, if you were American citizen and you ran this time, doesn't matter what country you were representing. So I think it would be a total of one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, well, I've wasted a lot of time talking about Silas Kiplagat. He's listening to this podcast. He's like, why are they talking so much about me? Just a big Silas Kiplagat guy. Okay. Like, just freaking don't hate on me. Okay. Other events before we move on to some rankings. Men's steeplechase. This is looking pretty good here. Conseslus Kipruto. He's challenging Ronix for the best Kipruto in the world. I think Conseslus still has that title. Benjamin Keegan, he's been very solid as well. Leonard Batt. This could be a good one. We haven't really seen much from the steeplechase this year, but this may be the race of the year when it comes to the 7.5 laps and the end of barriers.
How happy is World Athletics? This is going to sound awful. That the COVID whole situation has allowed them to like make people forget about the time when they just said steeple isn't important anymore. You know, like they removed the steeple from the Diamond League, triple jump, 200. And then the first year we're supposed to have like a steepleless season. We just have a self-imposed steepleless season because they're just, but everyone's okay with it because it's COVID. You know, maybe like this was the vision that World Athletics had all along, to have a steepleless world, and now we're just living it, but we're accepting it because we're just blaming COVID for it. Because it's like, I mean, no one is running steeples anymore. It's just like,
it turns out,
and it's weird. Why?
Well, because there's not a lot of races, and it's good. I mean, there's a steeple here. We got two of the best. Kipruto's running here, and then Chepkoech on the women's side. I mean, it turns out all it takes is a global pandemic to distract the world from the fact that the track and field's governing body removed the steeplechase from its primary offering. It's all it took. Maybe next year it'll be a little more controversial, but I've kind of forgot about it. I don't really care. I mean, listen, steeple. If you ask me what distance event could I get rid of, let's be honest, it's the steeple. This is just my take. It's kind of a great take. I've said that. I've been on record saying it. I've been on record. I think it's kind of a gimmick. Is it a hard race? Sure. It's very, very difficult. But what, you can't swing it in the 1500. You can't swing it in the 5000. You got to jump over hurdles to do it. I mean, that's just me, man. That's just my take. Some people don't like it. I understand. And I could never run the steeplechase. It's really hard. But
you're just bitter because the last time you attempted to leap over a steeple, you like severely injured yourself for like multiple weeks,
paying,
right?
Still paying for that. Yeah, my knees still hurt from literally over 5.5 years ago. So yeah, I am bitter. I think if this was in the court of law, they would have to throw out my testimony because there's a conflict of interest. Absolutely. But that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. Other events to watch here. We mentioned the men's 8, Ferguson Rotich. I think he'll come away victorious here because career is avoiding Ferguson Rotich.
All right, enough of this. I want to go back to your steeplechase take. Your steeplechase take is that it's a gimmick, right? If you can't handle the 1500 to 5K, you got to put little hurdles over yourself to make yourself like feel like you're accomplishing something. Does that mean you don't like the 400 hurdles? Because you're a big Warholm fan. You've been like the number one Warholm podcast of late. Every time he just breathes, you're like, "Did you see that?"
No, and see, like I think sprinting events with hurdles totally make sense. Like that is you're at full speed when you're doing that. And like, I know over 3,000 meters, you're at full speed, but a distance event and you add in water, it's not like the 400 hurdles. They're like, oh man, midway through the second curve, there's a giant water pit. Like, come on. No, I've always said that it's different. It's totally different. if you have horrific technique in the 400 hurdles, you can't swing it. Like, it doesn't matter how fast you are. That's why you can't just throw any joker in the 400 into the 400 hurdles. They can't jump over it like knees first and swing it. If you're in the steeplechase and you have terrible form, you can still win a gold medal. And to me, that shows that it is a gimmick. It's not. It shouldn't be an event.
Yeah, I'm an extremist. I think we should go all way and take away all barriers from all events. It's like, hey, all you 110 hurdlers, learn how to run the 100. All you 400 hurdlers, learn how to run the 400.
Yeah.
All you steeplers, learn how to run the 5K.
That event's entertaining. No, that event.
And all the 10K runners learn how to run the 5K. All the 200 runners learn how to run the 100. All the triple jumpers learn how to long jump. I could go on. All the throwers learn how to just shot. Hey, man, we only need like 10 events. Let's do it.
That's no fun. That's like saying in baseball, like, hey, anything that's not a home run, it's not a hit. It's an out. It's an automatic out. Like,
no, that's
and
bad,
in basketball. In basketball, there's no more free throw line. You just you have to shoot a half court shot. Like, no, come on now, come on. In football, we don't do extra points, just 2-point conversions. Like, we don't need to be eliminating facets of the sport that are crucial. I'm just saying we can eliminate the steeplechase, because whenever the steeplechase is on, I'm kind of like, let's go get a coffee. Like, I'm like, it's time for me to take a break. It's just my least favorite. It's my least favorite running event. Okay. Ooh. Convince me otherwise. Convince me. And one of the biggest thrills of it is when people fall. Well, that shouldn't be an event. That shouldn't be a thing. One of the biggest reasons, it's not like fans of skiing or like what's your favorite part of skiing? Is like when they crash. No, that's ridiculous. No, that's not. No, we're just trying to talk ourselves into liking this. I don't want this to be the main component of this podcast, but yeah, I'm on record saying steeplechase, not my jam. I encourage people to convince me otherwise in the email, though. Let's write into FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com and tell me why I'm wrong on this take.
It is funny, though, when you go to a track meet and every track photographer is like, you know what's going to be a good photo? A photo near the water pit. And like, it's almost as if like we've seen this photo over and over again. We get it.
Yeah.
There's a water pit. You got the photo of the splash. But like, yeah, but did you see it? We got the splash photo. Oh, like every other splash photo that's been taken in the history of track and field photos. It's just like, I guess once all photos have been taken, finish line photos have been taken all over, but like the good old, like, we got to get near the water pit. You know, it's funny, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as in the universe we preserve like the photos, the famous steeple photos, of which there's just literally someone's legs up in the air and their entire upper half of their body is submerged in water. Like, that's all we need. I've seen it all. I've literally seen it all. I don't want to see injuries. I don't want to see that. It is fun to watch people go head first into the water, but I'm always afraid people are going to like break their neck. It's like it's unnecessarily dangerous. Like, we don't need all that. It's too much. So listen, I've said what I'm going to say on it. Let's get into your cross country rankings, of which you've dubbed COVID era XC rankings. I'm fascinated to figure out how you've done this, because I looked at the rankings. The first guy on top, he got 111th last year at NCAA's, and he's 2 spots ahead of Yared Naguse, an multiple time NCAA champion. You need to explain to me how you came up with these rankings. Couple things. How you came up with it, why we need COVID era XC rankings, and how a guy who got 111th is our number 1 ranked athlete right now in 2020. Go for it.
Okay. So if you look at the description, how about this? Do you have the rankings up?
Oh, sorry. I was planning on blowing my nose for a couple minutes here. You're making me get the rankings up.
Well, I want you to read to me the description of the COVID era XC rankings, and it'll answer your own question.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read it
so
out
it's
loud,
not who's had the best runners who have had coronavirus, right? That's not what we're doing.
It's
right?
not that. That would be that'll be a fun ranking. I'll read it for you.
Overall individual. Yeah, overall individual XC rankings among Division I athletes who have raced at least once this season. Okay, got it.
Note, rankings are based on 2020 cross-country performances only. So,
Well, that's
what
implicit.
you've done.
That's implicit when you say they've at least ranked. Oh, okay. No, it's not implicit. Never mind. Okay, yeah,
No,
got it.
that's why Jared
So,
Naguse can be third and not number one. That's why someone
but
who's
why would you not?
111th.
Why would you not? Why would you not base it on previous performance too? Like just because Mario
why?
Garcia Romo has won a joke of a small 6K or whatever he won, why would you not look at it and be like, yeah, but Jared Naguse also won, and he's an NCAA champion. He should be number one. What's going on
because these are the COVID era XC rankings where nothing else matters except for what you're doing in this season. It's not a typical ranking where
what are you talking about? It still matters.
That's how we're doing it.
But that shouldn't be.
It's a what have you done for me lately ranking. It's not a
it's not like
it's not a resume ranking. There's no resume involved. I'm ranking literally every single athlete.
Max Kellerman.
I'm ranking literally every single athlete. All right. I'm ranking Mr. Luke Cannon, the freshman from North Texas. He's ranked 394th. I'm not going to go into his history to figure out if he should be 20 places higher or 20 places lower based off of what he did at the Conference USA in 2017 or at some random indoor track in 2018. I'm not doing that. There's too many athletes. This is based off of performances you do on the grass in 2020. That's the only thing that matters. That's why the COVID era XC rankings.
I think you were on the grass when you made these rankings, if you catch my drift here.
No, these are great rankings because it's based off of performances you've done. Like, I'm taking out the whole like resume factor or like what I expect you to do. You know why I'm taking that out? Because there's no event that's going to happen where we get to see them do what we expect them to do. There's not a national championship in the COVID era rankings. So why am I pretending that Naguse is peaking for a championship that doesn't exist? I need to just rate Naguse off of what he's doing in the reality. Because there's no he shows up for the championship meet. No, because that doesn't exist. So I have to say, all right, that doesn't exist.
Conference champion. Who's more likely to win the conference title? Mario Garcia Romo or Jared Naguse? So Garcia Romo at SECs or Naguse at ACCs? It's clearly Naguse.
Is more likely to win. Dude, I get it. Naguse is the best athlete that is competing. But like, these are different types of rankings. These aren't resume based. It's literally you don't get credit for any points you scored in 2019. And the reason why too is because like, look what we're gonna have to go off of. Here's the problem. All right, you want to know why? A majority of the athletes who are competing in the COVID era cross country season didn't run at NCAA nationals. Right?
Fine.
There's only 6 teams that ran at NCAAs, right? So we're just going to say that though every athlete that ran at NCAAs is automatically going to be a top 40 athlete this season purely just because they get to say they finished 200th at NCAA cross. Like, no, I have to, there's not like an even field where and then what am I going to compare it off of regional performances? And no, you can't do that. And then you had the freshman factor. So there's no 2020 outdoor season for them to compare but they improved in the 2020 season. There's no indoor championship to show that they did well. There's no outdoor championship. There's no season for them to run fast times. There's no high school season for them to run fast times for the freshmen. All that is gone. And so with such limited data, I didn't want to start making a ranking that's all based off hey, Jared Naguse won in 2018 of the DMR. So he's going to be number one forever because no one's ever going to be able to match that. There's nothing you're going to be able to do in the 4 races they're running this season that's going to be better than what Naguse has done in 2019 and 2018. So then what's the point of even having a ranking if Naguse is just going to be number one the rest of the time, right? So I want to take that factor out because there's no point of rankings because
Why is he?
There's going to be
Why is he
nothing.
not number one just based on what he did? If that's fine, but why is he not number one just based on what he did at the Notre Dame invite or whatever?
Okay. So if you notice, number 1, 2, 3, they all won their individual races, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. So then how do you sort? So basically you're asking me, how do I rank? So Naguse ran a dual meet against Louisville, and his time comparatively to the time that Garcia Romo ran wasn't as good.
Oh,
And
okay.
how do
So
I
we
know
do
it
have
wasn't as
common
good?
opponents. We at
No, it's
least
not.
have common opponents. Oh, it's not common opponents.
We don't have common opponents.
Well,
We have common race results.
oh
So
shoot,
what I did was
Chabosin transferred. I was thinking Chabosin's like on Louisville, so I was like, oh, because he used to run for Louisville, right? Okay.
Yeah, but so what I did was I took all the races that have happened in 2020 and I gave each race a rating. And I figured out a way to make a rating based off of the quality of the field. And then once that rating is assigned to the race, the rating multiplied by your time then gives everyone a universal rating that you then can compare cross races against each other. So this is the result that came out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be critical of it. That's I don't agree with it. I'll just be on record saying that. But
Lincoln,
you know,
Lincoln. No, but what you're saying is Naguse, he's run a really fast 3K. He's really good, and he was top. He was like 45th or whatever at at NCAA at the NCAAs, right?
right. So we should say right now he is he is. You can just say subjectively, whatever, or objectively. I think he should be the number one ranked athlete who is currently running cross country.
Yeah. Okay. But then what happens next week? There's nothing that will happen. So if Wesley Kiptoo wins every race, he's never gonna race Naguse. He's never gonna do it.
But then we say literally, based on past resume, he's not as good as Naguse. He might be, but probably not.
What's the point of doing a ranking if you literally are guaranteeing all of the elite athletes the top spots no matter what happens in the season? We don't have a cross-country championship.
Naguse loses, if Naguse goes undefeated and Mario Garcia Romo goes undefeated, like, it's going to be tough. Is it going to be tough for Naguse to bump up to the number one spot?
No, because the way Naguse will bump up to the number one spot is if his times are fast.
Yeah. I'm just saying in the top
if Naguse beats a fast guy from Virginia or North Carolina by over 40 seconds, that will bump him up.
I don't know if he runs like that. I think he kind of runs with his teammates, though. You're kind of taking like cross-country times. I don't know. This I mean, my biggest thing here, you got two guys named JP in the top 20. I think that invalidates everything.
JP Trojan and JP Flavin.
Yeah, it sounds like this looks like the leaderboard at a PGA Tour event. This doesn't look like cross-country rankings.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the women's side.
Listen, the women, I can stomach the women because you have a respectable All-American up top. I don't know who Jamie Reed is, whatever, but Kaylee Logue, 3, Taylor Ewert, 4. I don't know who 5 is, but you get down to Kelsey Camille at 8. Mercy Chalenga, we've had an entire podcast talking about her. Esther Gatahi. Like, I know some of these names, so this is respectable.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So if I would have just happened to put Naguse 1, you would have never even had this whole take that the COVID era rankings are stupid.
You're right, but that's why you should have had Naguse at number 1.
And then this whole podcast would just have, yeah, it looks good. I like it. This is great.
Well, I would have taken issue with there being 2 JPs in the top 20. Like, we all know that's not real. And let's be honest, a lot of these names are probably made up. Like,
yeah,
I have no way of refuting this. Like, there's got to be a decent chance a lot of these are made up.
I do think about that when I do rankings, that sometimes I create a person.
No one would know.
See if anyone.
No one would know. Like, let me like Cooper Castelaw, a freshman from Charlotte. Are you real? Are you a real person? Do you have a social
I like this
security
one.
number?
Thin McBride. That's a good one. Thin
Thin?
McBride. Yeah, Thin McBride.
Oh, Finn. Yeah.
Thin McBride.
Like
So guess
I'm not
where
one to make fun of people. Yeah, go ahead. Oh
guess
yeah,
where
Radcliffe should
Radcliffe
be up
is
here.
ranked? No, he's not. So this
What?
actually makes sense. So Radcliffe is ranked 135th.
What happened to him? Did he race?
He did, and he did not run well. He finished like 12th in his race or 14th or something like that.
Oh, no, he
That's
got
why it's all
eighth.
about what have you done for me lately. So like, is Radcliffe
He
just
got
going to
eighth.
be allowed?
He got eighth.
Yeah, he got 8th. Look who he lost to.
Well, he lost to guy. Why should I look at who he lost to? We're only looking through. We're only looking at in this COVID era. We're only looking at 2020. So for all I know, Rohan Ashview of Virginia is the greatest runner in the world because I'm not allowed to look back at what he's done previously.
No, Rovan. Yeah, he is. He is ranked 74th.
Well, why? He just won the Virginia invite by over 8 seconds.
Hey man, but there's other people out there. There's people running at the Mountain Dew invite. There's people running at the Abilene Christian invite. Again, I took there was like 16 or 8 or 10 races that have happened so far. I gave each one a rating, and then based on the time you ran in that race, you get put into the system, and that is your ranking. It's a objective ranking. It's not subjective.
But Rohan ran 24:03. I mean, that's pretty good.
Nope.
Oh, this is. You're telling me a guy who ran 24 flat and beat Thomas Ratcliffe is not better than there are 73 guys running right now, minus the Big Ten and the Pac-12. There's 73 guys better than a guy who won the Virginia XC Invitational. Come on now.
No, what I'm saying is, look at it this way. Maybe it's like when you are in a 1500, right? And you win your heat, but you won it in like 345. Yeah, you're like a 330 guy, but you won your heat in 345. In this ranking, you're going to be ranked as a 345 guy.
I don't know, man.
Hey, here's the thing. You come back every week, and when these athletes run again, they're going to be able to raise their stock or drop their stock.
I'm just saying until Thomas Radcliffe, a guy who got third in the 5,000 in 2019, until he's not ranked 135th, and until Yard Nagus is ranked number 1, I don't recognize these rankings.
Okay, well, first of all, you should rank it as the rankings because I put a lot of effort in this, and you're my friend, and you should support friends, right? So that's number 1. Number 2,
friends don't let friends do things that would embarrass them.
It's based. Well, here's the thing: if Thomas Radcliffe would have gone out and smoked people in a field that he should have smoked people in, it's on Thomas Radcliffe to run better. It's not on me to like. Here's the thing, too. I'm ranking 400 athletes. I can't look at every athlete and be like, yeah, well, I know you're good, so I got to move you up or down. Like, you can't do that. It's not physically possible to give everyone a benefit of the doubt or everyone a asterisk of like, yes, but you did this, so I'm going to do this. All I have to do is give you a rating and let the computer spit it out. And this is what it spit out. And it spit it out because Radcliffe decided to sandbag his race.
Wow.
And it's just a fact.
This is tough. Well, listen, I'm gonna call it for today. We've been yammering for a bit here. There's a lot of entertainment in this episode. Me and you arguing. I encourage people to check out the COVID era rankings, and if they're familiar with the NCAA, let us know. Listen, I've been giving you a hard time for the sake of the podcast. I'm glad you did these rankings. I understand that there are some caveats that you have that due to unique circumstances you have to consider. I may disagree. Mostly, I was giving you a hard time for the entertainment of this show. Doing my best, Stephen A. But yeah, check out the rankings on our site. Check out the Nairobi Continental Tour
We have them.
on Saturday. What's
the
up?
rankings are just they're overall, but then we also have it breaking down by freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and we also have team. So lots of different ways to look at the data.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I encourage everyone to check them out, like I said, and we will be back tomorrow. Speaking of that, I think we have one of the people we argued about today on an episode, either tomorrow or coming up later on the week. I got to check on the schedule. So that fits in nicely. Too bad he didn't get to address his ranking in the COVID rankings. But anyways, we'll catch you tomorrow. Oh, man.